Let's go fishing. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. My buddy Dan and I went wading at first and then swapped spots to the other side of the bridge to do some bank fishing. So after catching the catfish on the red crankbait, I figured I'd keep trying in that same spot to see if I could get another one. And while we were originally out here to bass fish, I'm happy to catch anything, so I kept targeting the catfish with this red crankbait. And that was a good idea because that's when this happened. Boom, fish on. Now again, I didn't know if it was a catfish or not, but the way that it was fighting, I thought it might be. And after it broke the water, I knew I had hooked into another catfish. Another nice small catfish on the crankbait. I swear the catfish in this area will eat anything. Here's another angle from where I set up my phone. I like to do this so I can usually get a screenshot of my catch, of course to save my phone and show friends and family. But then I totally forgot I had set up my phone and got to casting, which is cool because I got some B-roll footage of me casting around. What I did cut out is the footage of me slipping and falling down the bank. So with now 2 catfish on the red crankbait, I just kept casting that to see if I could get another. And while I was casting, I heard a commotion from where Dan was fishing and realized he had caught a fish. He got himself a small largemouth bass on the red crankbait. Not a bad little fish to break the skunk. And after that, we had actually been fishing for hours, so I decided to find a little root and take a break. I was feeling pretty cooked. I sent out the red crankbait again, but swapped over to the chatterbait. Apparently, I don't know when to flip the bail. But once I finally flipped the bail, I was able to get the chatterbait out. But not long after that, I heard Dan caught another fish, so I went over to check it out. He got himself a channel catfish. It was a multi-species type of day, so I sent out the red crankbait again. And with no luck, there went out the chatterbait. At this point, we had multiple fish in for the day, so I decided to try out some new lures. I picked up this shad-colored swim bait and decided to give it a toss out. I don't know what I'm doing with these lures, and I'm not sure you're supposed to fish them on a spinning rod, but I gave it a shot anyway. Went back to the red crankbait, but then eventually swapped over to the spinnerbait. Failed on flipping over the bail, but got it out eventually. Now again, with the water being so high from recent rains, I wanted to let the spinnerbait sink as far as possible, which I know is what you typically don't do with a spinnerbait. You usually want to keep it higher in the water column so you get that reaction bite, but I figured why not give it a shot. And apparently I let it sink down far enough because that's when this happened. Boom, fish on. Again, no clue what this was until I started reeling it and getting it closer to the shore, but once it broke the water, I realized I had a catfish on the spinnerbait, which was even more shocking than the red crankbait. Turned out to be a nice sized blue catfish. Thanks for biting, buddy. So I got the spinnerbait back out there to see if I could get another one. But unfortunately, I think I let it sink too far because I got snagged. This specific spinnerbait had been with me through multiple fish, so I was pretty sad to lose it, but that's why I buy my spinnerbaits from the dollar section at Walmart. I picked up these underspins a while ago after seeing them in a bunch of TikToks, so I figured I'd give it a try. And since I've caught fish on both paddle tails and spinnerbaits in this area, I figured it was really worth a shot. So I got that rigged up and gave it a cast. Apparently forgot to flip the bail again, but once I reset and casted it out there, we could start reeling it in. But unfortunately I had no luck, so I went back through all of my baits, including the red crankbait, the chatterbait, the swim bait, and even the spinnerbait again before I called it quits. Still wasn't a bad day though. Got to learn how to wade. I caught a bass, my buddy Dan caught a bass, and both of us brought in multiple catfish. It definitely wasn't a bad day at all.